We need to know who we are, and we need to know how we got here, so we know what we're doing. When we look back at the original Muslims, we can get a clue as to who we are and what we should be doing. The original Muslims were a mixed group of people. They weren't just one group of people. The original Muslims were, number one, Muhammad, the Prophet himself, peace be upon him. The second Muslim was his wife, Khadijah. Then after that, there were a group of Muslims from everywhere. They weren't just the members of his tribe. Matter of fact, his tribe rejected him. These people came from everywhere. There was Bilal the Ethiopian. There were Jews. There were Christians. There were people who believed in pagan idols. These people became the first Muslims. These people, there were people that didn't believe in anything that accepted Islam. This is important to us because this is who we are as a community of Muslims. Maybe not the people in this room, but when we look at the Ummah, the community of Muslims as a whole, we all came here by different paths. We all became Muslims. And this is important. They all signed up, the original Muslims. They took the Shahada. They said, we believe in the one God, and we believe that Muhammad is the prophet of the one God. And we signed up. We said the same thing that they said. We signed up to that same belief, that there's one God and that Muhammad is his prophet, and that we believed in the prophets from Abraham up to Muhammad. We have those same beliefs. We are believers. We believe that our Christian brothers and our Jewish brothers all believe basically the same thing, that we believe in the one God, and those people are our brothers. That believers, people who believe in the book, are our brothers. Just as the original Muslims believed that people who believed in the book were their brothers. And this is important to what we're doing today and what we, our community, particularly is doing today. That original community of Muslims were persecuted. They were thrown out. Muhammad was thrown out of his own tribe. That was very important in those days because that was the only way you survived in that environment. The tribe was all you had. He lived in the desert. He lived in a place with no resources, where you had to depend on others in order to stay alive. You had to defend yourself against not only other tribes, but brigands, bandits, people who just wanted to kill you for what you had. You had to have people to back you up. So he took a leap of faith, and he believed in God, and he gathered his own people, other believers, people that he didn't even believe that he believed. He took people who were believers in the one God and created a community of believers, and they backed him up. They became his new tribe. And that's our tribe too, people who are believers, people who believe in the one God. And those are the people that should back us up, and we hope they'll back us up, and we have the faith that those people will back us up, because we're being persecuted too. Not like the prophet. There aren't people coming after us with swords, or at least we hope not. But there are people that are coming out after us with sharp words. And there are people that maybe want to come after us with swords. And we hope that maybe we'll have the backup that will prevent that. Maybe there'll be enough people out there that will support us in what we're doing, trying to bring the people together, that will support us and back us up. The early Muslims also fought oppression, not only of their own people, but of others. They fought oppression in every way. That was one of the things that the Prophet always talked about, and the Quran talks about: oppression of the weak, oppression of orphans, of widows, of the weak people, the people who can't stand up for themselves. It's a duty of Muslims to stick up for those who can't stick up for themselves. And that's what our community, our small community here, hopes to do. We hope to stick up for those who can't stand up for themselves. We want to be a voice for those who can't voice for themselves, who try to speak up but don't get any backup in our community and outside of our community. People that want to do the right thing but are being shut down by others. who are being oppressed. We want to speak out for them, and we will speak out for them. Even though it costs us, even though it makes us unpopular, we will speak out for the others. And we're doing that. And yes, it costs us. We're not popular, okay? There are people that don't like us. And sometimes that'll cost us relationships. Sometimes that'll cost us business. Sometimes that'll cost us friends. Sometimes we'll find out things about people that we respected or knew. Matter of fact, I'm finding out things about people that I respected and that I knew by belonging to this group. People's opinions come out and they tell me things that I don't like to hear about them. But now I know where they stand. Some people, they stand against me because I believe in things that they don't believe in. That's their choice. I made my choice. I will stand with the people that I think are doing the right thing. If they want to stand with the majority because it's more comfortable, that's up to them. They can do that. That's their privilege. They can choose their own path. But I will stand with the people that I think are right. I will stand with the people that are doing the right thing, that choose the right path, that fight oppression, that try to do the good. The first Muslims that came to America probably came, well, they say the first Muslims may have come on ships during the age of exploration, but they didn't leave much of a mark that we can find today. But the first Muslims that came to America probably came with the conquistadors. They didn't leave much of a mark that we can find today. Maybe they'll find one later in history. But the first ones that we know of came on slave ships. They came to Jamestown. They came to other places in the Americas, and they did leave a mark. They practiced their religion. They left their names. They left their names scratched on stones, on pieces of wood, and in artifacts, some of them written. They left their names on their children. They left their names in secret, even though people tried to change their names. Not only here in North America, but also in South America. Other Muslims came to Mexico and South America as a result of the Inquisition. They came from Spain when they were being purged from Spain. They may have said they changed their religion to Catholicism in order to stay alive. And then when they had an opportunity, they fled. And they came to America. There were other immigrants that came with the shipping trade and the whaling trade. They came from places like Senegal and the Barbary Coast during the early 1800s when there was whaling. Then later on, during the late 19th century and the early 20th century, there were Turks and Lebanese that came to America. There were Syrian immigrants that brought their culture and also their religion. And they left the mark of Islam in America. But it wasn't well known. It didn't spread wide. A lot of times they kept it to themselves. But the mark was here, and the religion started to be practiced. And they did leave some impression in the middle of America where it wasn't well known. In places like Ohio and Pennsylvania, they had small communities. In places like Indiana, they built communities. And even in Detroit, where they went for manufacturing jobs. And then African Americans became involved in Islam because they saw it as an alternative to Christianity, where it looked like that was the religion of the slave master, and they needed an alternative. They wanted to see a religion that said, stand up for the oppressed, stand up for what you believe, don't just turn the other cheek, don't just wait for a reward in heaven, find a reward here on earth and in heaven, make this planet better and hope for a reward in the other world by making what's here on earth better. So they adopted Islam, and they adopted it in many forms. They joined the Moorish temple, which was sort of pseudo-Islam. They joined the Nation of Islam, another pseudo-Islam. And those paths led to true Islam, to what we consider true Islam today. They also joined the Ahmadis, which some people don't consider true Islam, but it was a path to Islam. And they even joined other groups what some people would consider more traditional Islam, the Hanabalis, which caused some trouble later on in the 20th century. Some people died because of it. All these different paths led to one place. They led to becoming part of the Muslim community. And they led some of us here in our little community. And that's what I feel our goal is. It's to bring everybody back to the one place, back to Islam, back to the one place that we belong. We worship one God and we believe Muhammad is his prophet. Everything beyond that is extra. Once we have that one thing in common and we can all say we're believers, we have a common ground and everything else can be put aside and we can all work for the good. We need to find the things that are in common and leave aside those things that pull us apart. If we look at grass, the kind that's on the ground, not the kind for other things. If we look at grass, grass is strong. If you pick up a tuft of grass, it's very hard to pull apart. Why? Because the roots are intertwined. And that's how we should be as a community. The blades are separate and they all reach toward the sky differently. But the roots are intertwined. So we can be like that. We can have different blades. We can be Sunni and Shia, and we could be Ahmadis, and we could be this and that or the other thing. We can have different beliefs, different twists, but we can be intertwined underneath. We can be combined in Islam. We can be strong in that way, as long as we realize we're one and the same and we're intertwined as a community. And don't let ourselves be put apart. If you look at a piece of sod, it's very strong, and you can cut grass, you can stomp on grass, but it always comes back because those roots are intertwined. Once they're pulled apart, the grass dies. We are all believers. We all signed up for this. As Americans, we have a contract with our government. That's called the Constitution. And as believers, we have a covenant with God. And that's our Quran. We read our Quran and we find we have obligations and duties, and we have a covenant with Allah. Just like we have the Constitution, we have obligations and duties toward our government, and the government has obligations and duties towards us. We have agreed with God to worship no God but God. That's our obligation. And our obligation in the Quran is to do the right thing, to make the world a better place. We ask God for assistance, and that assistance comes. It may not come in the form that you expect or the form that you want, but it always comes, and it always comes on time. I'm going to recite a surah from the Quran. I'm going to recite it in English. Surah 107, Small Kindnesses. See thou one who denies the judgment to come. Then such is the man who repulses the orphan with harshness and encourages not the feeding of the indigent. So woe to the worshippers who are neglectful of their prayers, those who want but to be seen of men, but refuse to supply even neighborly needs. I ask forgiveness for myself, for our community, and for the whole world. We need it. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in this world right now.